This is Bryce on BYU. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to Bryce on BYU. All right, today we're here to talk about BYU versus Oklahoma State. Now, there were a decent amount of you guys who were able to catch the last episode in which I recapped our BYU's victory over Arizona, which was so exciting. But as we keep going along with the season, it's about moving on, and moving forward, and you know, the team likes to take things one game at a time, and so it's the next test. And honestly, there are aspects of it that scare me. I think the biggest thing, and I think for a lot of BYU fans that I've been interacting with on Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it, they feel like it could be one of those games where this is a very talented Oklahoma State team, a team that last year that is returning many starters from last year. They played for a Big 12 championship last year. And so this team has a ton of talent, but they're sliding. And the fear, I think, is that BYU, you know, maybe some of the players don't take them seriously enough, and that it just kind of becomes almost like a trap game in the sense that, you know, BYU is just not quite adequately prepared to take them on. But this BYU team honestly feels different. The culture this year has been a huge part of why BYU is 6-0, why they're currently, on pace to at least be competing for the Big 12 championship. And, you know, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of reasons to believe that BYU can win this game, and that they can win this game, you know, maybe not handily, but decently. But I think BYU, and I think us as fans, we need to take Oklahoma State seriously. We need to make sure that we are very much aware of the possibilities of this game not, you know, necessarily going quite evenly for us. So anywho, so yeah, we're taking on Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, they have lost three in a row, including to Utah. They've lost to they just lost one to West Virginia, and and in between, they lost one to Kansas State. So one of those losses, the one to Kansas State, that's almost acceptable in a way for them, in the sense that Kansas State, I think, is one of the teams that can be competitive for a Big 12 championship. But the West Virginia loss definitely is kind of one of those losses where they're kind of starting to throw up their arms, like, what do we do? We were supposed to be competing. That's what Oklahoma State fans are thinking, is we were supposed to be competing. And they're having to watch us at BYU, a team they beat last year, have to, they're experiencing this success like they've never experienced before, and so, you know, that's what we're getting here, as BYU fans, and so, but I think that the game will go well for multiple reasons. Recently, Ollie Gordon, who's, you know, he won the Doak Walker last year. He has not been having good luck recently, and from who I've been listening to, just from the radio talk shows and different podcasts I listen to, it sounds like the Oklahoma State people feel like this run protection, the O-line run protection, just isn't good enough to give Ollie Gordon the space he needs, and maybe Ollie Gordon also just isn't putting able to put up the same moves that he put up last year. I mean, if we break down Oklahoma State in that West Virginia game, they had Alan Bowman threw 10 for 19 for 116 yards, one touchdown, 2 interceptions. We'll get back to that in a sec, because it sounds like they might be starting one of their backups, and so and then for Ollie Gordon, he had 13 carries for 50 yards, only 3.8 per carry, and his longest run was only for 14 yards. And so that's just, it's not going to cut it. I mean, Hinckley Rapati, on the other hand, for BYU, Hinckley Rapati, sorry, I'm having to use my phone. Hinckley Rapati had 9 carries for 65 yards. He was averaging 7.2 yards a carry. Even LJ Martin and Jake Retzloff each were averaging a little over 4.5 a carry. So, Ollie Gordon's not able to get it done, whether it's the O-line, whatever it is, it's defenses have been able to stop him. And if you watch the replay from the West Virginia game, it's not like West Virginia was necessarily loading up the box to stop the run and forcing the pass. They were just playing standard defense and maybe a slight focus on getting to the run, but nothing intense. They weren't scheming lots of blitzes and lots of pressures to stop the run. And so you wonder, can BYU? I think that is kind of the perfect example why BYU may be able to use their their line, their defensive line, their inside protection, or not their inside protection, their inside pressures to get to Ollie Gordon without having to give up too much in the secondary in terms of being able to keep the receivers locked up. And I think this game, in terms of matchups, it matches up very well for BYU. I mean, this is a team, like I said, BYU was handling them for like 2.5, 3.5. I think it was like about 3.5 quarters before Oklahoma State marched back last year. And I think BYU has only gotten better since then. And I think, here's the thing I do fear with Oklahoma State is that they're going to try something completely different. It's going to catch BYU off guard, and they're going to get just enough momentum that it'll make it a more interesting game. But I think BYU, like I said, they match up well, and as long as they're ready to scheme and as long as they're ready to make adjustments to what Oklahoma State is doing, I think we'll be just fine. BYU's schemes this year have been fine against every team. Now, like I said, I think we should be cautious. It's definitely, I think it's a game that, because of the cold and the storms that have been rolling through Provo, I think we're definitely going to see some. It might be a more run-heavy game than a pass-heavy game, but I do like BYU's odds in that as well because of not just because of LJ Martin and Hinckley Rapati being back at full strength, even though that is huge. I've also really liked the way Jake Retzloff has run the option recently, and I think that bodes well because I think that will match up well against Oklahoma State's defense, and it will allow BYU to put up the rushing yards they need to get. I think they only need probably 3 touchdowns, maybe 4, in order to win this game. And then, if the defense can just get 1 or 2 turnovers and BYU keeps, is able to keep, take care of the ball, then they should be able to keep this game in hand. And so, we'll see how that all goes. But yeah, I mean, Oklahoma State, they've had some. There was an interesting thing that came out from Oklahoma State recently. They mentioned that their coach Gundy, he mentioned that that he got hit in the head by one of his cattle. I don't know how serious he is being, or if he was just kind of like trying to come up with some sort of metaphor. But yeah, like I said, the BYU right now, this is the first game in which they've been actually pretty heavily favored, which going into the season, if you told me BYU would be heavily favored against Oklahoma State, I wouldn't have known what to do with that information, because BYU is favored by 9. The ESPN analytics give BYU a 63.1 chance to win the game. So you're just, it's kind of wild to see all these things kind of going in BYU's favor, but I think BYU should still be able to play that underdog mentality of, you didn't believe us at the beginning of the year. You thought these guys are going to be the top dogs. We need to show you that we can be the top dogs. And I think that's what BYU, I think that's what Kalani is going to be saying is, look, guys, the target's starting to come on our backs, but we still need to remember we weren't believed in at the beginning of the year. We can do this. We can go all the way. And so, yeah, we'll see how things go. You're going to have it's going to be important to have good special teams. And like I said, take care of the ball, make sure that you're doing all the best things. I do wonder with the weather if BYU will be able to, if they'll have to resort to the run, and if they'll be able to, get the holes open that they need to get the yardage. But I think they will, and I think you'll see another 150, 175 yard rushing attack from BYU as a team, as a group. And I think you'll see, LJ Martin will, I think, continue to, as he continues to get more games in under his belt, he'll continue to show as a force to allow BYU to have other options open for their offense. So like I was mentioning before, Oklahoma right now, they have a bit of a quarterback controversy. Their 7th-year quarterback, it seems like, is probably going to get benched. Alan Bowman will probably be benched in favor of you might see Garrett Rangel start Rangel start for Oklahoma State. There's also talk about possibly saying Flores. We'll see how that all goes. I think some BYU fans are scared about, like, oh, well, in the past, like, look at TCU last year, they played a backup QB and they dominated us. But I think, like I said, this is a different team than last year, and there was a lot of other problems. It was not just a matter of scheme. It was a matter of buy-in from the defense last year. And I think this year's team is playing so well together that they'll be able to actually use it to their advantage rather than being at a disadvantage in terms of seeing a backup quarterback. And so ultimately, I think BYU, I don't know if they'll necessarily run away with it the whole game, but I think they'll break it open late in the second half, and I think my prediction for this game will be 30-17, maybe even 37-17, and I'd like to see BYU win it handily, win it going away, and be able to be 7-0, and be able to travel to Orlando next week and hopefully continue it on, so that way they can roll into Salt Lake in just a few weeks' time and be able to go into Rice Cycles undefeated and try to keep that magic and that streak going, and we'll see how it goes. But anyways, I want, just like I said, thank you guys so much for I ended up with, I think, about 115 viewers on the last episode. And for those of you who are here again, thanks for watching again. I look forward to continue to create more content for you guys. Continue to like and make sure you're subscribed. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure you give me a follow. And any good ratings are greatly appreciated. I'd like to just continue to be able to spread my thoughts. This is just a fun thing for me, but leave your thoughts about predictions in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing how things go from here. All right, talk to you guys soon.